Elden Ring has 9 legendary armaments, or 11 if we count the weapons that you don't need for the achievement, or 15 if we count the DLC items. Technically all the Remembrance items are legendary too, but that's taking the piss a bit. But, of the main 9, they're all generally accepted as being at least pretty good. However, there are 2 main exceptions to this rule. The Devourer's Scepter, a topic for another video, and the subject of today's lashings, the Eclipse Shuttle. Found in Castle Sol, the Eclipse Shuttle is a high damage, death blight, curved sword. Great stuff. Well, that's probably enough for you to realise why this weapon is so awful. Throw me a bone here and watch the rest of the video, will you? I've got a bit more depth to cover about why this is so bad. Now, before I get in depth as to the 2 elephants in the room, let's go over some of the more minor pros and cons of this weapon. The Eclipse Shuttle has the second worst range out of every curved sword, second only to the Mantis Blade, which has a super long charge attack that probably makes that more worthy, and also doesn't have forced holy damage. Blah blah. In terms of weight, it's pretty middle of the pack with a weight of 3 units. It also ignores 50% of shield damage negation. Hooray. It is better than the other guard piercing curved sword, the normal Shuttle with a sacred infusion in terms of damage. But I mean, first off, it's like fucking Moloch versus Baal. Neither are good for combat. But the Shuttle does have some uses, like being the lightest weapon in the game that accepts seppuku, which can help with a lot of bleed builds or one-shot builds. Guard piercing is pretty useless in PvE anyway, and honestly, between the 2, my advice is take like the 0.5 weight penalty and get like a fucking falchion or something, get a better curved sword, use a better weapon. If you're trying to do like, twin blades are better than curved swords anyway, choose one of those. Way cooler too. So, I'm so sorry about the delay here. If you're new to the channel, this was about quite a week ago. I'm just putting this in the middle of the video so people aren't confused till the end. But my headset totally broke and I had to wait for a new one to arrive. And also I couldn't edit it till then. So, again, really sorry about that. But if you like content like this, just videos about Soulsborne bosses, weapons, anything like that, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. I'm planning to do a video where I rank every Elden Ring boss and Night Rain boss, like even like the little like fucking Beastmen of Missoula and like the cave, in just one huge like 2-hour, 3-hour video hopefully, and that'll hopefully be out in April or May. It was originally meant to be March, but I think that's too optimistic. It's not impossible though. I mean, February's still pretty young month. I'll definitely. There is no way it'll be out after May though. It'll be out before May. And then after that, I'm not really sure what I might do. I could try a couple more challenge runs. They were pretty fun. I think the last one I did was Dark Souls 2, Spell 2 only. But either way, I've taken a bit too much of your time. I'll send you back to the video. The Eclipse Shuttle has the skill Death Flare, which adds 35 Death Blight build up and 60 holy damage to the weapon for 45 seconds. I'll talk about the damage buff as a bit of an entree before the Death Blight main course. Imagine if Sacred Blade was worse in every way, shape and form. It deals 30 less holy damage for an extra 5 seconds of uptime, and requires you to stand around like a moron for a few seconds, basically inviting whatever boss you're fighting to go and fucking shove their great axe up your arse. Well, Sacred Blade fires a projectile and buffs the weapon in like a second. Sacred Blade also adds bonus damage against undead enemies, making it super useful for melting bosses like Deathrite Birds or Ghostflame Dragons. It does also, as mentioned, add Death Blight. Death Blight is the worst stat element in Elden Ring. I don't think that's controversial. It's only applicable against NPC characters that are players, but not all NPC characters. Many NPC characters with boss health bars are fully immune, like Gideon, Ofnir, Patches, Vike, all the DLC NPC bosses, and the ones that can fall victim to have 999 resistance. like Adan, Thief of Fire, who is in Leon there, you get this in Mountaintops of the Giants, and you're dealing at 35 a hit, so you'll probably just kill them normally before you can even think of sending that Deathblade tree up their arse. I've tried this weapon out for a scrap video, and right, to be fair, the damage isn't as awful as I remember. Is it good? No, it is not good. It gets gapped by half the fucking curved sword roster, just with Sacred Blade. But like, compared to some of the genuine shite I've covered before, it's not the worst thing I've ever used. To be fair, yeah, in a Sacred based comparison, it's even in the upper echelon in the curved sword class, tied for 5th place with a Mantis Blade and just beating out the Scavenger's curved sword, which I'd still put above it due to the innate bleed of it. But again, this is an arbitrary discussion, because you can get better damage on most of these by just not using Holy, because the game's the worst damage type. And this is without weapon buffs. It with Deathflare falls to 9th place compared to other swords with Sacred Blade on them. So while I wouldn't say the damage unusable, it's far from good due to most late game bosses in main game having super high Holy resistances, and a decent few bosses in DLC having a pretty solid resistance. Other than Gaius and Putrescent Knight, who are actually weak to it, and Mesmer Phase 2, who has zero affinity to it either way, but unless you're switching weapons mid-fight, you're dealing with 40% resistance in Phase 1, and Redan Phase 1, who also has zero, but only for the far easier part of the fight that only takes up around a third of the duration of the total fight. And even so, if you're really determined to be some gimp that LARPs fucking Golden Order on TikTok, there are better holy damage weapons out there. I'll use like fucking Sacred Relic Sword or something. Out of every weapon I've covered so far, aside from maybe the top 2 perfume bottles, I would say this is probably the best. Again, not good, but like, it's better than the fucking Soldering Iron, Cleric's Candlestick, Vare's Bouquet, Ivory Sickle. I'd say as a weapon, this is like still a strong D tier, and it definitely is the worst legendary weapon in the game. But like, realistically, right, other than maybe against like Radagon and Elden Beast, that'd be horrible. Like, beating the game list probably wouldn't be like miserable. Like, compared to the Ivory Sickle, I mean, the only thing I did with the Ivory Sickle was fight fucking Promise Consort of Dan, and that made me want to cry. So overall, awful, yes. Overhated, maybe. So, thanks for watching. Sorry for the delay here. Again, Elden Ring All Bosses is going pretty well, hoping to have that out in April, I think. But, well, ideally anyway. So, thanks for watching. Again, I appreciate your continued support. Still don't have a concrete sub goal for this year, but I'm hoping that every Elden Ring boss video will blow up, because that would be a decent few hours of content, I think. So, yeah, thanks. See ya.